Everybody, here's a quick presentation I did to all the first responders here in Ottawa last week, and we wanted to share it with you so that you guys can actually feel and hear and see what we're all about here at Personalized Health Center. And it's a super simple presentation that I made about the 6 things that will give you the highest return on investment for change in your health and your lifestyle.
Talk to you about eating and proper and what it is as a first responder, what we should be putting in our bodies and what I end up putting in my body, right? I made my chicken wings earlier and I shook his hand like he's totally gonna smell it on me, eh? But from that moving forward, I'm totally gonna be better. So welcome everybody, my name is Brent McIntyre, I'm the peer support coordinator for Ottawa Police, along with my counterparts Lori Downey with Ottawa Paramedics. And we have Al. Oh, there you go, Al. And Al Polyrum, he's with Ottawa Fire. So we, with a lot of supporters, we put together this week of events. So we're very pleased to have Harry speak to us this evening. And without much ado, I'll let Harry take it away.
Thanks. Thank you. You want to say I'm a nutritionalist? That's my big joke of the day. So
Yeah.
So as Brent said before, my name is Harry Booman. This is pretty loud. Is that loud? Is that too loud? That's good. Okay. I'm a nutritionist here in Ottawa, and I'm excited to talk to you guys because a lot of you don't know me, but I work with a lot of Ottawa police in the office and military, and I love sharing a lot of information with first responders because they're fun to work with. Just plain and simple. I have a lot of enjoyment working with you guys, and when Steve asked me to come out and connect with you guys, I was pretty stoked to come out and talk. Right? So today, what I'm going to talk to you guys about is just about good eating habits and some things that I've been able to learn on my journey of being a nutritionist. Okay? So what we're going to do is I made a slideshow to go through some information with you guys, but overall, when I do my presentations, I tell people, look, if you have any questions about the slide that's on right there, please go ahead and ask me questions, okay? But if it's something to do generically or you just have a general question, I'll save it to the end, right? Because I think I have about 45 minutes. So I always say I'll always put together a parking lot session. And that means that at the end, as I get through all the information, if you have questions about anything, if you saw me in the parking lot and you wanted to ask me a question, that's where I say we'll do the parking lot session at the end. Okay, but first, I really like to get through the information because I want to be able to share with you what I've been able to learn from 3,000 people. So by giving you that information, it's going to be able to, that's not good. We have a spill on aisle 4. We're okay. I think we're okay. Okay? So, first thing I'd like you to understand is how did I start for me, right? Oh, it's getting that. Okay. How it began. So, the way that I became a nutritionist was that it was when my daughter was born in 2009, and she went through an experience where she had really bad skin, right? So, I don't know if you guys have ever seen babies, but she was the one that wore mitts, and she would scratch herself till she bled. Okay, so she had no hair. It was kind of cool. She had a cool mullet, right? No hair here. She had the old school mushroom haircut. And later on, we found out that she was allergic to eggs, and she was allergic to gluten, and she was allergic to soy protein. And at that point, I was in school to become a nutritionist. And I said to myself, when we found out that news, it was pretty, it was hard for us to take, because here I am, I'm eating about 12 eggs a day. At that point, right? Because I'm playing rugby, so I had to maintain a weight. And I'm saying to myself, even now to this day, I tell people that eggs is one of the healthiest foods they're serving in the world. And yet, she can't have them. And then it kind of clicked for me. And I said, you know what, we're all eating wrong. Because what we're starting to look at is that we're just making these generic statements around food, but nobody's actually listening to the person and understanding that that food must have a different reaction. And as I say in my office, there's no such thing as health food. There's only healthy food for you because one man's medicine can be another person's poison. And for her, she's the one who began my journey into making sure that I help people understand more about their body and help them understand that food must have a reaction and everybody's is different. So that's how it began for me. And the beautiful part for this was that that little girl inspired me and gave me the opportunity to work with great organizations such as these ones. So the Red Blacks, the Fury, but those are all great organizations to add to my resume, and I had a lot of fun working with them, but nothing beats working with people. The moms, the dads, the police, the military, the firefighters, the paramedics. These are all the people that I actually really enjoy working with because I get to work with you one-on-one. I get to know what's happening, I get to fix, I get to rebuild them. And because of her, I was able to work with over 3,000 people in the past 3 years, giving me the opportunity to learn a lot about how to change people's diet, change people's health, and change people's energy levels, their body composition, their sleep, and most importantly, I make people better. And it was because of her. So today I'm going to share with you a lot of information that's going to give you the opportunity to not just feel better, but to feel like high performance. So for me, I'm going to focus on 6 action items that I'd like you to take from today. I used to do these fancy presentations, these guys come in and they talk to you about theory. I think theory is garbage. I tell people that because it doesn't work for the average person. But what I can tell you is that I've had the opportunity to work with over 3,000 people, which has given me the opportunity to learn what actually changes you can make to make yourself better tomorrow without having to worry about theory and all the BS that's out there. So we're going to get right into it, and we're going to start talking to you about 6 things that you guys can do today that's going to give you the opportunity to be able to make your lives better, okay? First thing is, tip number 1 is you need to change your mindset. Do you have a clicker? Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, I don't know, these are fancy. But, okay, first thing is you need to change your mindset. So a big thing for me that I tell people in the office is that you need to start looking at your body like a business. And the reason why you need to start looking at your body like a business is because tactical athletes is a full-time job. I just had a client in the office about last month. She's with the RCMP. And she said to me, she said, Harry, there I am having my cup of coffee. I get knocked on my window. She's in the market. And she said, there's a girl screaming at me saying, there's a guy beating on a girl in the corner, and he's about to light her on fire. So she's having her coffee, and as you know, she throws her coffee, gets out of the car, running sprint, jumps, gets into a fight. That to me is a tactical athlete, right? So the key for us is we need to start to look at your body like a business, because when you own a business, you're looking at things based on the highest return on investment. And for you guys, what you need to understand is that everybody has the same goals. Health, wealth, and experiences. Those are 3 things that I've read over 3,000 assessment forms, and last year I worked with over 100 tactical athletes between military, police, and paramedics. And they've all said these are the major goals. And what I'm here to do is to remind you all that in order for you to achieve any of these goals, you're going to need your body. Most importantly, you're going to need your body, on top of that, to protect the person beside you, to help me, the community member. So the more you take care of your body and look at it like a business, the better it's going to be, because we want to make sure that you're safe. I always say first responders need to take care of themselves first before they can take care of others. So that's why I say to you, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to start to change your mindset and look at your body like a business, because it is. It's how you make your money. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Number 2 is that you also need to realize is that you need to start eating real food. It's very plain and simple. It sounds really simple, but the key is that even in my office, I'm picking it up to a new level of where I really focus on people just starting to eat real food. The key is that, remember, you guys don't diet. You guys train every day. There is no in and out of season. Like my client's in the CFL, he's got an off season. You guys don't. Every day you could be getting into a fight or saving someone or walking into a fire or carrying someone who's 150 pounds. There is no time to be in a situation where your body is not your business and that you need to start focusing on eating real food, because real food is very simple, right? It's going to give you all of the nutrients that your body's going to need, and the reality is that if you're eating fast, cheap food, what do you expect you're going to feel like? How do you expect to be premium? How do you expect to work an overnight shift? How do you expect to be good when the next day when you walk in, you want to play with your kids, or you want to be having a great conversation with your partner, or you want to be able to listen and do things faster? It doesn't work. So the key for us is that the first thing we have to start to do is we've got to start to look at eating real food. And real food is very easy. We need to focus on technical difficulties. Okay? First thing we need to start to do is focus on eating 1 ingredient foods. 1 ingredient foods are very simple. when you look at a food and you know what's in it, eat it. Perfect. Would you spend your money, remember if you looked at your body like a business, would you spend your money and wouldn't know where it's going? No. You would look and see what the price tag is. You'd want to know how much you're spending. So why would you not do that with food? So the big thing for us is that we always tell people the first place to start is first line therapy, look at what's in your food. So these are the food groups that we focus on all the time in our office. Meat, fish, eggs, vegetables, fruit, nuts, seeds, rice, potatoes, legumes. Keep it simple. I know what's in that food. When I know what's in the food, I know how it's going to feel in my gut. When I know how it's going to feel in my gut, chances are I know how my energy levels are going to be for the day. When I know how my energy levels are going to be, I know how my day is going to go. So the first place you have to start eating food, and we have to get away from the nonsense of saying, well, I just had a little bit here and a little bit there. It doesn't work. Because we need to start to change the way that your body works, so that you can recover faster, you can recover from night shift, and you're able to still perform at 100%. So that's why we have to start to look at eating real food, because that's what's going to give you the opportunity to be able to succeed, because we have to understand what is processed food. Right? A processed food is a food that has been altered from its natural state. So think smoothies, almond butter, almond milk, flour, cheese. These are all processed foods. We've got to go back to the basics. And everybody's trying to find the hack, the alternative. Well, guess what? I'm a believer in blue collar work ethic when it comes to food. Eat the stuff that works. Don't think of fancy diets. Most times when people start to just eat real food, they start to feel bad. And when you start to eat foods that alter from its natural state, there's a couple things that happen that we aren't aware of. Number one, it affects your blood sugar. So people think, oh, I'm always in a bad mood, or I have low energy, or I feel up and down throughout the day. How many of you change different? If I asked you about your energy levels throughout the day, how many of you fluctuate? Tons. What happens if I told you that could be related back to the food and your blood sugar? So think, you wake up in the morning, you have a smoothie, you blend it, you drink it, wow, I'm so healthy. But what happens if that upped your blood sugar by 4 points? Interesting enough, in our office, we had type 2 diabetics that I used to recommend that too, and the next thing you know, their blood sugar go from 7 to 11. But if they chewed the fruit, they went from 7 to 8. So just by changing around the food and eating it in the most natural state changes your blood sugar. So the key to us is you always want to eliminate processed food because it affects your blood sugar. Number two, it doesn't keep you full. So if I gave you 1 cup of pasta or 1 cup of rice, generally people don't realize that they eat 2 cups of pasta to keep themselves full. But if I gave you 1 cup of rice, they keep you full. It means I can lower your caloric intake while keeping you full longer, while giving you better blood sugar. Number three is that, look, they add preservatives to these foods. Right? How many people know what these preservatives do long term? Who cares about the research? It's only been 10 years old, 20 years old. Think about aspartame. There's still debates over aspartame. Aspartame was big in the 80s. Right now, look at where it is. Now they're saying it's good for you, it's bad for you, it's not safe for you. Who cares? I just say if there's too much of the spectrum, take it out. Keep it really simple. But we are unaware of what these preservatives do to our body long term. What we do know is bodies aren't decaying fast enough because we're full of preservatives. So let's go back to the basics. What's in a sweet potato? Sweet potato. Perfect. Let's focus on that. Right? The other thing that you have to know is that they take out nutrients to keep it more shelf stable. So this is an interesting concept, right? Because like, oh, it's just a little bit here and there. Perfect. If you could go to work and you could make $100 an hour or $30 an hour, which one would you pick? So when you eat a processed food, you're saying, hey, I'll just take $30. It doesn't work. Right? So we need to start to look at eliminating the processed food out of your diet. And on top of that, they add sugar. And the one thing we do know about sugar that's pretty basic is that it's addictive. Right? How many of you have blacked out while eating like ice cream or chips or something like that? We've all done it. They do an amazing job at making sure that you'll eat as much as you can. Right? But the key is you're still hungry after, you don't feel good, you feel gross, you feel bloated, gassy. So let's start to look at eliminating. Let's make sure that we're eating the real food first. Right? That's what I always tell people. I'm not worried about you eating 10% of your food off. Who cares? Right? So if you make $100,000 a year, and I said to you, I'm your financial planner, okay, look, Steve, we're gonna sit down, here's 90%, okay, you make 90 grand, okay, give it to me, I'm gonna take care of that 90 grand, here's what we're gonna do with it, you take 10%, go do whatever you want. I'd say that sounds fair. So we have to start to do those same hard lines when it comes to food, because real food always wins. When you eat real food, you'll know how you're gonna feel. When you know how you feel, you know how your day's gonna go. But when you eat all of these chemicals and foods, and you don't know how you feel after, or you say, why do I always feel tired and lethargic? Well, chances are, if you don't know what's in your food, what did you expect? What did you expect? Right? So you ate chicken wings. What's in it? No idea. So expect to be gas bloated and not to sleep well today. That's okay. Just be okay with it. But the key is to start with eating real food. It sounds so basic, but yet it's so hard to do. And one of the big things that's interesting is that we had about 1,200 people go through our coaching package where they worked with me for over 60 days. And one of the key habits that they've told me, it helps in their success, is that they actually cook 4 to 8 hours per week. So it does double your time. That I will guarantee. But how many of you go to work, plan, strategize, and organize your day? I do. Right? How many of you do that for your food? But if you own a business, you would do the same thing. So we have to start to change the view and the mindset that your body's a business. We need to eat real food because real food makes me $100 an hour. Fake food makes me $30 an hour. And then on top of that, it makes me feel like garbage. So that's why we've got to start to look, why do you want to eliminate processed food? These are all the reasons why we have to start with it. Okay? Then, eat the rainbow. Right? When you start to eat food, you want to make sure that you eat as much of the rainbow as you can. So don't just think real food. The interesting part is most people only eat about 12 to 15 foods per week. Eat the rainbow. So what I tell my clients to do is try to make 2 shopping lists. Right? This week, you might buy beef, chicken, and salmon. The next week, you buy lamb, you buy turkey, and you buy haddock. Right? This week, you bought strawberries, oranges, grapefruit. The next week, you bought blueberries, pears, and apples. You've already created variety. You see this gut of ours? In our gut is 8 to 12 pounds of bacteria, and it loves diversity. It loves people. So think of the food and the colors that you're eating will affect your body, and that's where you'll be able to have less sensitivities, be able to get more variety, and you get less what I call palate fatigue. This palate fatigue is where you just get bored of eating the same food over and over again. How many of you have done a diet where it's just like, I say chicken and broccoli? Well, it doesn't need to be that hard. Right? The key is just making sure that you eat the real food, eat the colors of the rainbow, try new food a week, and that's what's going to help you long term get more diversity into your body. Okay? So tip number 1, always make sure you look at your body like a business. Tip number 2 is you got to go back to eating real food. You got to prep it. If you don't know what's in it, don't expect to feel it. Good. It's the first place to start. Number 3 is change your definition of food. All of us have to change this definition. It's interesting. I've worked in this industry for about 15 years. And what I've learned is everybody has a different definition. The key for me is when I say the word food, diet, or nutrition, what I start to look at is nourishment. You see, what's the intent behind eating? The intent of eating is to make my body better. I'm eating food because I want to feel better. I'm not eating based on calories. I'm not eating based on performance. I'm not eating it based on fuel. I'm eating food because the first thing I'm going to put in my mouth is I want to know how I'm going to feel after. What a different way of looking at it. Everybody says, oh, I want to lose weight. That's why I'm eating this way. Or I want to, prevent disease. I just want to be healthy. Well, that's not a goal. Right? The key is that you're eating food because you want to nourish your body to give you the opportunity to achieve your goals. That's the key. We have to start to look at the fact, and now we know that food must have a ripple effect. Right? Nutrigenomics, the way food affects your genes. We know that food can affect the way your brain is going to work. We know that food can affect the way your gut's going to work. We know food can affect your sleep. We know it. So now we have to start to understand that food is first-line therapy. There's only 2 things that you're guaranteed to do in a day: eat and sleep. Do you know when you work out, people say to me, Harry, I got to work out so I can lose weight. I'm like, that's 45 minutes a day to an hour. What's your return on investment versus an 8-hour good sleep and eating good food for 10 hours? Right? Pretty low. So the key for us is that we first got to realize that by eating real food, by eating food based on nourishment, helps me nourish my body to achieve all my goals. Then when I achieve all my goals, then I'm also preventing disease because it has to have a ripple effect. Food must have an effect on the body. We have to be aware of that. So that's why I always tell people, food is about nourishment. Okay? And what we have to start to think about is that when we start to eat, is that we have to hunt for nutrients. Got to get those nutrients into our body, because the definition of a nutrient is that a nutrient is a substance that provides nourishment that is essential for the growth and maintenance of life. I like to look at it plain and simple. Is that nutrients is the net profit of food. Your body actually doesn't need food, it needs nutrients. Because in that magic word there, right, essential. Essential means that if you do not eat it, your body can't make it. So how many of you, if you didn't pay your mortgage, would still be allowed to live in your house? Nobody, unless you're a landlord tenant. Right? Okay? But the key is that you want to understand that if you didn't pay your mortgage, you wouldn't be able to stay in your house. But in your body, if you don't eat enough nutrients, how do you expect your body to work? Because nutrients is the net profit. So the word essential means that if I don't eat that food, my body can't make it. So what do we need to make sure we hunt for? We have to hunt for these nutrients, right? So the nutrients we focus on are things like amino acids, right? Fatty acids, water. Water is a superfood. Micronutrients, and fiber. We need to make sure that we get these in your diet at all times before you think about having a treat or a reward meal. Right? How many of you would buy a pair of shoes if you couldn't pay your mortgage? I'm hoping nobody. Right? Unless you have shoe addiction. Right? But the key for me is that's what we have to start to look at first when we start to program diets, is that we gotta hunt for the nutrients to make sure the body can get the nourishment it needs to open up the pathways for our body to achieve the goal. So when we start to eat food, now we have to go there and we have to have intent. And I want to feel better. So if I want to feel better, I got to make sure I get those nutrients into my body. And these are all the nutrients that we need to focus on. And what's interesting is when you focus on one ingredient foods, that's going to give you the highest return on investment for all these. We take care of it all in one shot. So if you focus on meat, fish, eggs, vegetables, fruit, nuts, seeds, rice, potatoes, quinoa, and legumes, chances are you're going to get all these nutrients in the highest form. It's not too complicated. Just beautiful, simple food. Right? So that's why we always tell people, you gotta hunt for those essential nutrients, just like you pay off your mortgage, your cell phone, your cars, because if you know that you pay those off, chances are your life's gonna be pretty smooth. And the same thing, the body has to work the same way. Okay, so we need to make sure that we start to look at your body like a business. You have to make sure that you eat real food, and we've gotta hunt for the nutrients so that your body has the opportunity to feel nourished, to open up the pathways for your body to achieve the goal. Okay? Number 4 is that we've got to start to pay your mortgage payment, right? See, what's interesting is that when you go to a bank and you buy a house, they give you a payment structure, how much you owe per month. And when people come to me and they say, Harry, what kind of diet are you going to prescribe? Nothing. I'm just going to provide you with a mortgage payment of nutrients that you should be eating on a daily basis so that you have the opportunity to nourish your body to achieve the goals of what you're looking for. In fact, if you start with a diet, it makes it harder because this is blue-collar work when it comes to eating good food. Right? So when we start to look at how you should be programming your diet, the first thing you need to say to yourself, okay, what do I need to be eating in a day? What are the first things? So 1 meal for every 50 pounds. Start there. Right? So I weigh 185 pounds. I'm going to eat 3 to 4 meals a day. Right? Pretty straightforward. Probably I don't go over 4 meals because really I don't have enough time for it. And number 2 is that some days that's perfectly fine. But most times I stick with 3. If I work out, I'll have a 4th. Right? Pretty straightforward and simple. Number 2 is that what do those meals have to have? Well, let's think about if you open up a magazine today, the 3 things that they'll say to you that you should be eating more of is more plants, drink more water, and have protein. Well, let's do that. What's interesting more is that I ask for food logs in my office. So let's say you book an appointment with me. First appointment, I'll say, okay, I need you to write down what you ate for the past 3 to 5 days prior to coming to see me. Right? Because I have to see what's happening with the body. And so you would be amazed at how many people don't do that on a daily basis. Even with all the information out there, the average people I see eat anywhere from 1 to 3 cups or 1 to 3 servings of vegetables, that's it per day. So we gotta go back to the basics. Okay? So 1 serving of protein for every 50 pounds. Right? And don't worry about measuring it. None of my clients measure. Just stick to the basics. How much do you feel eat? 2, make sure that you eat at least 1.5 to 2 cups of vegetables for every 50 pounds. Remember, we all need to eat more plants. Right? Vegetables is key to helping us with absorption of the amino acids from the protein. And you know when you grill your meats, right? There's a thing called ages on it. Just by eating vegetables with it negates that. So you always have to make sure that if you have a plate, I always say, let's say a piece of protein, half of it should always be vegetables. That's where you should start, right? Because vegetables gives us the highest level of micronutrients, fiber and water. Vegetables are high source of water. People forget that. Okay? Number 3, make sure you drink 1 liter of water for every 50 pounds. Sounds so simple, yet not done. right? So we have to make sure that you're doing the basics. 1 liter of water for every 50 pounds. And that should be completed 3 to 4 hours before bed. Okay? Yes?
Is there a limit on 1 liter of water for 50 pounds?
I start there as a baseline, right? See, I'm not a very generic recommender, but these are the things that I've seen work for most people, and it gives them a nice starting point to bring them back to baseline. And that's why I always tell people, when people come into my office, they're all over the place. They're doing 5 diets in one, and they're not really getting results. The first thing I try to do is bring them back to baseline, right? But bringing them back to baseline gives us the opportunity from there. Then when the baseline's done, then we can pivot which way we need to go to figure out what's going to work best for them. But the key is, to me, it's always the basics aren't done first. What's the point of doing something fancy if the basics aren't being done first? Because then you can maneuver. All right? Yeah, go ahead.
So what's wrong with going or having water just before you go in?
So the thing is that, well, there's a couple things. So number one is that most of the time people wake up to go pee in the middle of the night. Right? So the thing is that we don't want that. I want you peeing during the day. A couple things it does. Number one, it helps you burn more calories. It also makes you get up and walk around.
Okay, so as a shipper, I work 5 at night to 4 in the morning.
Okay.
So at 4 in the morning when I'm full, I'll have water and then I'll go back to bed or go to bed and always have water in front of me. And then I'm done until noon or whatever.
Now, but the key is how much water you're drinking throughout the day. That's the key for me. Is I tell people 1 liter of water 3 hours before bed, because what I don't want people doing is saying, oh my God, it's 7 o'clock at night, I'm going to bed. In an hour, I'm going to chug water, and a liter, and then all of a sudden you're sparking your kidneys, and the next thing you know, you're waking up to go pee 5 times. What I like to do is look at it from a bank perspective. I say, here's the bank, it closes at 5 p.m. I need my mortgage payment paid before 5 o'clock. Then after that, you can sip on water. Because the bank never said you couldn't go make more money after. But what I want to make sure is that the water gets in. Because when I know the water gets in, a couple of things that we've seen in our office are, A, sleep quality improves. That's what people forget. Your body needs a lot of water while it sleeps. And people think that they're going to wake up to go pee because they wake up more. In fact, all of our clients who drink more water sleep better. They actually don't wake up to go pee. So in my world, I actually think it's a case of dehydration. Because your body cleans itself at night. And if it doesn't have anywhere to reservoir all those toxins, that's why when you wake up in the middle of the night, your pee smells and it's darker. Right? So chances are your body's dumping something. And it's better for us to be peeing every hour on the hour, right? 1 cup an hour, so it's nice and simple. But yes, in that case, you have to look at the macro picture and say to yourself, how much water are you drinking all day long? Now, if you can drink a cup of water and go to bed and not wake up to go pee in the middle of the night.
I'll ship this. And then I'll dispatch some on the air and constantly talking.
Yeah.
Constantly drinking.
Yeah, so that's good.
Water, juice,
But are you waking up to go pee in the middle of the night after drinking that glass of water?
No.
No, then see that that's where the baseline starts to work for you. That's the system that works for you. But if you were waking up to go pee in the middle of the night, I'd say let's drop it. Let's get as much water as we can during the day, right? I just like to have a cutoff. You can still sip on water after, but let's make sure the hard work is done first. Okay? So that's why I always tell people 1 liter of water for every 50 pounds. Then you can see there, have 1 cup of fruit daily. I only like to focus on 1 cup of fruit first because remember, you got to look at everything. You can eat more fruit, but then if you don't eat enough vegetables, enough protein, get enough water, eat all the variety of food, well then you're just missing out on everything else that needs to be done because you want to look at the whole picture of the meal. Okay? Make sure that you have at least 2 shot glasses of nuts per day. Walter Longo, who is the author of the Fasting Mimicking Diet, talks about that people who live to 100 and over, centurions, are actually eating about 30 grams of nuts per day. So I don't like clients having to take a weight scale out. I like to do amateur type of weighing, as I tell my clients. So take 2 shot glasses, take a shot, boom, boom, 2 shot glasses per day, and make sure that you rotate your nuts. That's one thing people don't do. They just buy mixed nuts all the time. Very adamantly against that. Make sure you do jar rotation. So this week you buy Brazil nuts. Then once that jar is done, then you move to hazelnuts, then that's done, macadamia. Again, more gut diversity, less chance of sensitivities, and different types of nutrients. Okay? And then starches, I love starches. Starches are great. Remember, there's a difference between refined carbohydrates and rice, potatoes, and quinoa. Right? These are actually going to help with blood sugar, they're going to help with performance, they're going to help with sleep quality. And the big things people say to me, well, Harry, carbs aren't going to help me lose weight. Yes, they will. Good carbohydrates help you keep full. Full is very good, because when you're full, you have less cravings. When you have less cravings, you eat less junk. So think, is it better to go low carb for 3 days and then eat a bag of chips, or is it better to have a sweet potato every day and have 50 grams of carbs instead of eating 300 and having 150? Makes a big difference. Yes, ma'am?
If I were to tell a person to eat one serving of protein for every day, for every 50 pounds.
Yeah.
So I'm a vegetarian. So
Yeah.
if I eat beans and like, what's the difference between like steak and beef?
So,
So
what was
one serving be of each.
So a serving would be until you feel, we'll talk about serving sizes because the key is that serving size is something I would get to kind of measure with the client. But in general, I'm a big fan of just eating till you feel full. The key for me is that when you make your plate, is it there? So a client says to me, Harry, I had oatmeal and berries for breakfast. That's really healthy. I said, where's the protein? Where's the fat? Right? So in your case, you would be using things like beans, right? Legumes, lentils. And then you would use things like, do you eat like eggs, fish? I don't know. I hear everything in my office, so that's why I always ask.
Yep, eggs.
Eggs, so you can have eggs as well, right? But a serving of protein would be like whatever you need to feel full. Because what you need is going to be different than what I need. What you're going to need is what I'm going to be different than me. So the key for me is first just making sure that the first meals are complete. So when you sit down and eat and say to yourself, is there protein on my plate? No, chances are it's incomplete. It's an incomplete meal. Right? So that's where we start with that. Got it? So that's where I would say to you, now the hardest part about this, everybody says to me, Harry, this is easy, this is pretty basic, this isn't complicated. Go do it for 30 days straight. It's hard work. And do you know what's interesting? They feel better just doing the basics than having to do diets, because now they can eat food. You can do this anywhere in the world. I have clients that go to Bahamas, Mexico. They don't come back with diabetes. They come back and say, Harry, this is the first time I've lost, I lost weight being away on vacation. Yeah, because if someone's cooking for you, you have access to all this food. Then, if you said to me, Harry, I had a cupcake. Cool. Did you eat all this food first? Yeah, I'm okay with that. Because chances are you're going to eat less. Right? But if you make it just your meal, chances are you're going to overeat. And that's where we have to first start. Everybody always asks me, what about cheat meals? What about this? What about that? I said, what about just eating the good food first? Eat all the great food first and then see how you feel. You might not even want that bad food. And that's why I always tell people we give them starches and fruits every day because they actually start to feel better and they have less cravings. Okay? That's the other thing. You got to start to pay the mortgage. When you start to pay the mortgage, remember, that's where you start to see the change. Remember, tactical athletes do not diet. So I'm adamant against it, right? Because you guys will have to eat to perform at 100% every day. Right? So the thing is, like, I had a guy in the military, he's overseas, and he's like, Harry, I really want to cut weight. And I'm like, how are you feeling right now? We're just over the phone. And I'm like, how are you feeling? He's like, I feel amazing. He's like, I've never felt like this overseas in my life. I said, okay. So I said, why do you want to change your diet? He said, I want to get a little leaner. I said, okay, no problem. Do me a favor. And we probably had him at 4 meals a day. And he was starting to measure because he had a little bit of time to do that. And we said, okay, why don't you just do the assault bike? Two assault bikes for 5 minutes a week extra. He lost 4 pounds. We didn't have to change his diet at all. We actually kept feeding him. Because he could still perform at a high level without having to change his diet, which upped his performance. So remember, diet always doesn't have to be the adaptation that we change. It could be other forms when it comes to changing around body composition. Okay, but we want to feed the body to get the nutrients to open up the pathways for the body to achieve the goal. Okay? So that's why those stuff is. Okay, number 2, eat meals. Stop the snacking. Stop the insanity, please. Okay? So the key for me is that I'm always a fan of eating meals, and I ask this question in my office all the time. If you could make $100 an hour or $30 an hour, which one would you choose? Most people would say $100 an hour, right? So snacking. The reason why I'm adamantly against snacking in my office is because when you start to look up history of food, 50 years ago, we ate breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert. We had less chance of metabolic syndrome than we do have today. 100 years ago, we were dying from undereating. Today, we're dying from overeating symptoms. Right? So when we start to look at snacking, we're basically eating incomplete meals that are making our blood sugar work more than it needs to. So if I eat 6 times a day, or 7 times a day, how many times is your blood sugar having to work to break down that food? It's a lot of work. Then your digestive system's got to work too. And then you're hungry all the time. And the one thing I've learned about my first responders, just like you said, you're on the phone, sometimes you won't get a chance to eat. So if you snack, cheat, which is what we usually see in our office, right? Why would we want to do that? I want to keep you full. I want to keep you energized. I want to keep your blood sugar levels stable. So by eliminating processed food and eliminating unneeded snacks, I'm going to be able to give you more food to keep your blood sugar stable, to help you with more energy, to feel recovered, to have no cravings. So that's why we got to start to look at snacking as something that's detrimental. And it goes against everything we've learned. Everybody says snack, snack, snack. But here's the problem. After vegetables, fruit, and nuts, how many snacks are processed? All of them. Right? They're all processed. We've done a great industry of snacks. Great industry. They've created that we should be eating more snacks. But really, if you look up the history, we're getting worse by snacking more. So one thing I'm really always about is to make sure that you always try to eat meals. And a meal is that you're going to eat until the point where you say, if I take one more bite, I'm not going to go and work out. That's a meal. And that's where I was going back to your serving sizes. It can be completely different. There are some days where I can come home and I'm just ravenous. I'm eating and I'm eating and I'm eating and I'm eating, but I feel more energized after. So if you came to me and said, Harry, I ate 2 cups of a bean salad, I ate 3 cups of a salad, and I took 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I had a cup of water, but Harry, is that a lot of food? I say, how'd you feel? It felt amazing. What's the problem? Isn't that what we're all after first? How do we feel? Right? So by eliminating snacking and we start eating food, enough for us, it doesn't, we have to start there first. Because if you're constantly hungry, now it depends on the goal, but if you're constantly hungry, chances are you're just going to crave more sugar. And remember, structure will always be discipline. Right? Because we know discipline is BS. Right? Because discipline only works to an extent. If I'm hungry all the time, I'll be hungry. I'll eventually give in to my cravings after 3 days. But if I structure my meals properly and I have no craving, that will win the game. So that's why we want to start going towards eating meals. Remember, if you eat a meal, eat to the point where you say, if I take one more bite, I wouldn't want to go work out. Now you're not under-eating, where you're going to feel hungry in an hour. And you're not overeating, that you're going to feel sluggish after. Right? It takes people about 2 to 3 weeks to get that one solidly nailed down. Okay? Go ahead.
Quick question. So we sometimes don't get very 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, are you so if I took an egg, some lettuce or whatever, just start with their protein.
Mm-hmm.
If I have 2 minutes to eat something,
Yeah.
eat protein first, and then 2 hours later eat whatever else I have. Just keep, because we don't have a chance to eat.
Absolutely. You know what you guys should do is email me. You can email me. I think my email's up there. We have a chef on staff, okay, and makes us recipes for a lot of the shift workers, teachers. Absolutely. No, we have these things called meat muffins, right, that are there, that we can send you over those recipes, and that'll give you the opportunity to be able to put, it's just ground meat, you put in a bunch of vegetables, you put in a bunch of starches, you throw it all in, you put it in a muffin tin, you bake it. We've got a whole bunch of recipes for that, we've got some spices. So email me, and I will get those sent out to you, because that's something that we deal with a lot with our retail and our first responders, is that they don't have times for breaks. Right? So there's all these different types of things that we have for you guys to do with that. Like in that case, exactly what you said. Let's say you took a hard-boiled egg, right? You take a lettuce wrap, put it in, maybe a tablespoon of good avocado oil mayo, 1 tablespoon shredded carrots, shredded onions, celery, throw it all in that lettuce wrap. And then in this case, I actually tell them to use saran wrap, even though I don't like plastic. I tell them just put it in, and that way you eat it like a shawarma, and it's very fast and simple. Super, super easy. But again, it's more complete, but it took more planning and more organizing to make that meal. That's going to be the key. But there's meat muffins, there's salmon cakes, there's egg muffins, there's lettuce wraps. You know what's really handy tool is those rice wraps. You know those Vietnamese rice wraps? Right? You can put, so for you can put beans in there, you can put lettuce, you can put all these types of vegetables, super fast. And what's awesome is I have 2 daughters, they're 7 and 9, and they actually love, when we actually cut everything up, they'll make their own. So it's actually family friendly. I'm a big fan of family friendly meals because it makes it a lot easier for everybody to kind of get on board. Right, but that's a great question, because a lot of people have that same problem. Teachers and first responders all have the same issue. And my retail clients, doctors, naturopaths, nutrition, people like myself, it's always about eating on the fly. Okay? Yeah?
So that was like literally the next question. You had all the different areas, the different ingredients separated, but you can mix them. There's nothing wrong with mixing them, except for the nuts. You don't want us to mix that. But like,
yeah, don't use mixed nuts. Change your nuts around. And then, yes, you can make your food, but know what's in your food. Right? So like, for example, let's say you're making a bean salad, no problem, because you know it's all 1 ingredient food. Yeah, absolutely, you can mix them. I don't want you eating like chickpeas, lettuce, and that's it. No. You can mix up food all the time, right? That's no problem at all. It's more about just knowing what's in it, right? So for example, even if I was to make a reward meal for myself, I'll make it from home. Like it was Thanksgiving, my wife made a gluten-free, egg-free pie, right? No problem, but we made it from scratch. We know what's in it. We don't have 15 preservatives in it, right? We just made it from home. She's a very good baker, so it helps. But those are all things that I even tell people to do, is if you're gonna eat something bad, make it from home. Make it that much better, right? Because we don't need that. That way when you're out with your friends, it won't matter. But at home, try to make it a sanctuary. That's where we really have to be in control, is at home. Okay? Yes?
Just one quick reference. Your snacking 7 o'clock. What if your snacking throughout the day is part of your recommended foods, like your nuts, piece of fruit?
Oh, it does.
Like if some people prefer to graze throughout the day.
Yeah.
And maybe have a couple of more significant meals, but the rest of the time it's just great when I'm hungry. I have to like keep on going.
It would all depend on then, I'd have to go through your assessment form and see what your goals are, and I have to see what are your, where's the cracks in the foundation, right? What are the complaints that you're coming in with? And then from there we can do that. But in general, remember, you're gonna end up eating more. That's the one thing we wanna be able to do is control the appetite and making sure that you eat the right amount of food for you. Right? But there's some of my clients, I have my 5% anomalies where like, Harry, I just graze, I do well, they don't get cravings, they feel better. There's always gonna be those 5%, right, that do that. But in general, when we start to move people to complete meals, they tell me their energy levels go up, they tell me their sleep goes up, blood markers get better, and their digestive system rebuilds themselves, and energy is much better, right? And mood is better because they're not up and down. They don't know if they're angry or if they're hungry. So that's what's really important to me, right? But first, try both. Right? Be your own R&D. Like I do R&D on myself all the time, trying out different ways to eat. But try doing it the grazing way, and then try eating 3 to 4 meals a day and see which way you feel better. Do it for a month. Write down after you eat that food, how did I feel? 1 to 10, 1 low, 10 high. Perfect. Boom. Do that. Then at least you know which one makes you feel better. Right? But the key is to start trying different things and data collection to see how you're actually feeling. Okay? That's step number 5. Start to stay away from snacks. Right? Eat meals. It's one thing that we see as a high return on investment for clients actually feeling better. Okay? Okay? Meals, if you take more than 1 bite, you should not want to go and work out. Remember, 3 to 4 meals a day, and you want to make sure that more nutrients equals more money for your body. That's the way you want to look at it. So if you're eating snacks, you're making $30 an hour. If you eat a meal, you're making $100. Okay? And then last one is find your 20. So I'm all about building better platforms for people so that they don't go backwards, right? And one of the things I tell people in my office is I have my 7 commandments of optimal health called eat right, move right, poop right, sleep right, love right, drink right, talk right. And when I tell my clients to move right, I tell them that for the first 2 weeks, don't worry about going to the gym. Get into the kitchen, move around, get it cleaned up, purge it, detoxify it. Get things ready so that you're able to be successful because you're going to spend a lot of time in there prepping your food. And so one of the big things that we've started to see as a big return on investment is people finding 20 new recipes. You see, because what people are forgetting is the 20 recipes that you have as your go-to recipes is what got you where you are today. And if I asked everybody here, how would you rate your health from 1 to 5? 1 meaning low, 5 meaning high, right? You can check that number with yourself. But the key is that if you're not over 3, chances are you're not doing something correct for you. Or if your pant size is getting bigger every year, chances are you're not eating right for you. Or if you're drinking more coffee day in, day in, day in, right, chances are you're not doing something better for you. If you're saying that your sleep is feeling worse and you're not feeling recovered, you don't feel younger, chances are you're not doing something good for you. So we have to start to take a step backward and say, okay, what are the first things? Let's find 20 new recipes to get me out of this problem. Right? So like one of mine used to be Prego. I'm sure you guys think Prego and tomato sauce, and pasta, and a can of tuna. Right? Super fast meal. I thought that was healthy. Now my new meal would be romaine lettuce, berries, onions, olives, and a burger. I can make that at the same time as I can make those meals. Right? So that's my new meal. That's got more nutrient density, better for me, and it's helping me achieve my goals, whereas the other one wasn't. Right? But it still takes the same time to cook it. So the key is making sure that you build that platform to get you out. That's why I said if you email us, I'll email you over 5 to 10 recipes that we send most of our, like the feedback that we get from our first responders as being the high return on investment ones they use all the time. I'll send you that as well. That's easy. That's easy for us. Okay? But the key for us is finding those 20 new recipes is important, making sure that you try one new food a week. So the 2 foods that we get the most feedback in our office is fennel and bok choy. If you haven't tried them, go try them. Awesome. Awesome foods to try. Right? Get in there, get them trying, so that way you can add more diversity to your food. The amount of foods that we have in our house now, only because of us trying them every time. We've tried octopus, sardines, caribou, cilantro, mint, basil, bok choy, fennel. We have tried tons of them, and it's actually upped our game in terms of cooking. Because it's fun to try a new recipe too. Right? So just making sure that you try to find that new food is really good, and making sure that you constantly add that. Right? That's the key. Okay? All right? And then this is my favorite. This is my favorite quote. I think when I tell people, I always light up when I hear this in my office, and when I say to them, eat the energy you want to become. Right? So if you know what you're eating, chances are you're going to feel better. If you know what you're eating, chances are you'll know the result. Chances are if you know what you're eating, you'll know how your gut's going to feel, you know how your mind's going to be, you know how your sleep's going to be, you know how your body's going to perform. So eat the energy that you want to become. Okay? All right. And then lastly, I just want to thank you all for having me here. Right? So if you like, you can follow us on social media. A lot of the presentations that you guys may not know is all the presentations that I do outside the office or any corporate events. All of the money that we raise goes to the Ottawa Food Bank, because as you know, I'm here because of my daughter. And my daughter had food allergies. What you don't know, or you may not know, is that the food bank actually gets nothing for kids. So last year, every year we try to donate more and more organic baby food. And last year we donated about $750. And one of my clients owns a grocery store, and she gave it to us at cost. So we were able to drop off a lot of food. So in these situations, I'd like to thank all of you for having us, because it helps these organizations. But I'm also thankful for being here, because you guys help me live a good life. And one thing that I've learned by working with military and police is that I've learned that freedom isn't free. Because somebody's paid for me to sleep well at night, whether it's your spouses, your health, or your kids. So I want to thank you for having me here to talk about nutrition and these 6 things. I know that they may seem so basic, but I promise you, if you do them every day for 30 days straight, you will win. You will feel a significant difference. They're hard to accomplish, but they're basic. But if you do them, I promise you that you'll see a difference, because we've seen the difference in our office, and it doesn't need to be complicated. So I want to thank you, and if you have any questions about anything that we talked about, feel free to shoot, and I'm ready to answer any questions. Yes?
Does it change anything by freezing stuff? Because like...
Freezing?
Yeah, like...
Freezing is amazing.
Sorry?
Freezing is amazing.
It's amazing?
Yeah.
So you can make a whole Sunday, just make a whole bunch of freezer?
Do you know what's actually a really interesting thing is because a lot of our clients have told us that they cook 4 to 8 hours per week. But have you ever heard of this thing called the Instapot? I tell you, that thing has saved even me. So what you don't know is that the older the food gets in the fridge, the worse it becomes, right? Mold, histamines. And so one thing I can say to you is if you can, try to use the Instapot, because you can make food very quickly. So it's 30 minutes, right? Let's say you're going for a run, right? You put in your beans, or you make a soup or a stew. You can make that really quickly in 30 minutes, and it can still be fresh, right? So if you can organize that, that's a lot better. But freezing is a good way to do it. Absolutely. Making batches of things is very good, because it's going to have a lot more. You know, I'm a big fan of telling people you should be doing 2 60-minute food prep sessions per week, right? It's funny, I kind of have an equation in my office that I think is a very successful tool for most people. If you do 3 whole body workouts per week, you do 2 Epsom salt baths, you do 1 walk, 1 metabolic conditioning workout, and you food prep for 60 minutes, for 2 60-minute food prep sessions, I actually think you'll get better results than people who work out 6 days a week. Because you're doing everything. You're doing everything. And I think that long term, chances are you won't burn out. There's a lot of people burn out by doing 6 days a week, because then they're working out 6 days a week, but then they're not doing good nutrition. Then they're not sleeping properly, but they're going to the gym, and then eventually they just burn out and get sick, right? Or they injure themselves. So for me, I'm very much about doing the food prep thing. We have rules in our house that we don't allow any vegetables. We try not to allow vegetables into the fridge without them being washed or cut. Because if you do them all at once, it takes me half an hour. If every day I have to wash, take out the cutting board, cut everything, then put it away, it takes me 20 minutes. But if I do it all in one shot, it's 30 to 40 minutes. So it actually saves me time. Yeah, if you can do that, batch cooking can really save you a lot of time. The only thing I don't say freezing is eggs. Like if you make something out, this doesn't work, just out of experience from our clients. Okay? It just doesn't work. Okay? Yes, sir.
Can you say anything about alcohol in the coffee?
Alcohol, well, obviously we have to think about alcohol, right? Is that alcohol is poison, right? Alcohol shuts down metabolic function. So whenever you drink alcohol, it's like calling in the JTF and saying, hey, let's go break down this food. So remember that shuts down metabolic processes for 4 to 8 hours, right? And then in terms of alcohol, it affects sleep quality, right? But I also know that it's also part of camaraderie, right? And if I'm outside, if I know when I play rugby, right, there's nothing more that I want to have a drink with the guys that I'm just going to go and have a game with. So there is a piece to that. I think that it just needs to be moderate. 1 drink a day is as much as I would say to go, right? Because that won't affect sleep quality, right? 1 drink, keep it simple. And then in terms of coffee, coffee works. Coffee works. I'm actually okay with coffee. But there's a couple things that I would tell you to do, okay? Number 1 is that I would buy organic coffee. Okay? I know it sounds people like, well, Harry, come on now. Coffee is the 3rd most sprayed crop in the world, right? Other than corn and soy. So for me, I look at it as I can give you medicine for an extra $1 a bag, or I can give you toxins. Which one do I want to give you? Let's go for the best, right? And then number 2 is that try not to use Keurigs. So any of those machines that you put in your thing, because what you don't know is you're melting plastic into your coffee. And that's where most people get their plastic from when they drink it. So I would say you just buy an organic cup of coffee and make sure, now remember, this is at home. I'm not worried about you being out and about. I'm always talking about the house because the house is the sanctuary, right? So if you have a Keurig, get rid of it, go pick up a Bodo. Go pick up a press pot. Makes the best coffee, right? And make sure you drink organic so that way when you are out at shift, right, go and have your coffee, that's okay. But yeah, I'm okay with coffee. But remember, just make sure you drink it black, okay? And again, these are 3 little rules that I give in my office. Drink organic, never use a Keurig, and drink it black. So think about it from another perspective. If you're adding something to your coffee every day, let's say you add 50 calories to your coffee every day. That's, 52, that's about 18,000 calories. It's an extra £1.50 per year. Remember the goal of what I want to help people achieve is that I say to you, look, I want to help you lose inches around your waist every year. So if you continue to add stuff to your coffee that you're going to drink 2, 3 a day, well, chances are you're just adding extra caloric value for nothing. So the things that you do on a daily basis, I'm a big fan of making sure we do them right. And if you're going to drink 2, 3, 4 cups of coffee a day, learn how to drink it black. And if you don't like it black, here's what you're doing. You're probably drinking the wrong intensity. There's 1 through 10, right? Bold, light, sweet. Just try to go to like Equator Coffee. They're amazing. There's, I think, one in Westboro, or even just go to like a local little place and say, listen, I was recently diagnosed with lactose intolerance. All my clients do this. I'll say, I was recently diagnosed with lactose intolerance. I need to find a new coffee that I can drink black. They'll let you try all of their different types of coffee, and you'll be able to get one black. Do yourself, buy at least a bag from them to support them because they gave you that. But I would tell you, try to drink organic, try to drink not in Keurig, and try to drink it black because you know you're going to drink it every day. But don't worry, if you like a almond milk latte once a week, we're not worried about that. Again, I'm worried about what you do on a daily basis, and that's where we got to dial it back to go back to the basics. Yes? I don't like them at all because you're just drinking sugar. Remember, the goal is to retrain yourself that you don't need sugar, right? Like even stevia, aspartame. Look, even if the research shows that they're safe for you, you're still training your brain that sweetness has no calories. The sweetness has no calories. What are you going to crave more of? More sweetness. So we got to retrain ourselves to those are the little things that I tell people. If you own a business, would you want to give $1 away every day, every hour? No. You'd want to try to keep that to get a higher return on investment. So if we start to go back to the basics, remember, on a Saturday when you wake up in the morning, you're having a nice breakfast, you want to put a teaspoon of honey as a treat? Sure, different ball game. But if we do it every day, remember, we're just adding more sweetness. Remember, sweeteners can also increase your cravings. So yes, you have your 7 a.m. coffee, but you don't realize that because you're putting that honey in there, at 11 o'clock at night, you're having a craving. But if you take out that sugar from your morning coffee and all the other coffees, you're not craving anything at night. It's all going to have a reaction, right? So yeah, there's certain things that I push people towards. Do you know what works well if you do like stuff in your coffee? Take a teaspoon of cocoa powder and cinnamon. Get some good 85% cocoa powder, add some cinnamon, it works like a charm. It's actually a really good treat too if you want to do a decaf coffee at night. So obviously I work with a lot of shift workers overnight. and I give them at 3 in the morning because I know you guys have cultures to go have coffee, right? So I'll say, here's a coffee. You can either add cocoa powder, cinnamon, or go get some 85% chocolate and some frozen berries and have that as your treat because you're going to go with your rest of your crew. I don't want you buying donuts and muffins and all that kind of stuff. Just go have a cup of coffee, right? And have some frozen food chocolate. But cocoa powder, 85% with a little bit of cinnamon works really well for a little bit of hints of sweetness. And the good thing is that the antioxidants from those two foods is actually beneficial. Okay? But yeah, try to drink it black. Try to go back to the basics as best as you can. Okay?
Are there reusable pods for carrying better?
The plastic hard ones where you can add your own coffee, that would be better, right? But I still would say to you that try to go back to the plastic. The glass Bodum is still my favorite, or old school percolator, or like an espresso machine or something of that sort. Works really well. Right? Yes, sir.
Can you speak to supplements in particular? My family, 3 of the family members are vegans.
Okay.
And they're loading up heavy on supplements.
Well, it depends what they're taking. So we do know that, so first thing I always tell people is that supplement is a supplement, first pick food, right? So for my shift workers, I do generally give them like a protein shake if they need it, only because I know there's sometimes they won't have access to food, right? But the key is that in those situations, there's going to be nutritional deficiency. So I will say to you, go to see a doctor, or go outside and get a panel done of minerals and micronutrients. Pay $500. Right? It's $500 to $800. One of my clients, he just paid $800 to get his done. It does everything: testosterone, amino acids, B vitamins. It does a full organic acid test. He paid $800, right? But in those situations, I would make that investment, right? Of something, because then you find out exactly. We're not guessing. I don't like to guess, right? But B12, like a good multivitamin, would be good in those situations, right? But again, you would want to get your blood work done, because it depends on their diet. Now I have vegetarians that come to my office, oh my God, like they're pristine. Like they're not carboholics. Like they have researched this, they have found beautiful food, they've made all the combinations, they're making everything from scratch, they're mixing and matching foods, like it's beautiful. But you know, in those situations, I'd say get your blood work done, and I always tell people, make sure you pick a diet that works for your body best, right? But the supplements can be safe. Right, so the top 3 supplements that we recommend in our office are glutamine is number 1. Glutamine is an amino acid that helps rebuild the stomach lining. Remember leaky gut syndrome, right? So glutamine glues your gut back together. 5 grams every morning upon rising is probably the best thing that we give people. Okay. Number 2 is we recommend magnesium. Right? I know you have a sleep expert coming in today. I think that's amazing because when you remember, food and sleep are 2 things that you do every day for 8 hours, so you want to make sure that it's optimized. Magnesium is something that we see helps the quality of sleep help, and we've actually seen it help with staying asleep. Right? So I like to use that a lot. And we use a lot of digestive enzymes, right? Enzymes for gas and bloating, but that's where it would depend on the person. But if it was 3 things, I would say usually I start with a DHA fish oil. I start with glutamine, and I'll start with magnesium. The DHA fish oil is because 60% of your brain is fat, but DHA is also very good for mood. Especially when people are changing their diets, I like to give them stuff that makes them put them in the good mood, because they do go through a little bit of withdrawal symptoms when they start talking about certain foods. So I do like DHA a lot, anywhere from 2 grams a day. It works really well for most people. Okay? Yes?
So I know it's preferable to have real protein, but what about the post-workout protein shakes?
I love those questions. Well, here's the thing. How many times a week do you work out? So a lot of people will say to me, Harry, you know, what about my pre-workout, my post-workout? What about all this? And listen, unless you're going to train to be an Olympic athlete, right? Your 45-minute to an hour and a half workout doesn't need to worry about pre and post nutrition. If you're eating good food 90% of the time, you should be okay. That's what I tell people. If you follow that, right, you should be good. Like I have a girl who did the Spartan race 2 or 3 times. We just had a girl marathon. We had 3 Spartan racers this year. I had 3 or 4 people do marathons. They didn't weigh or measure food, nothing. 0. All they did is we taught them, say, okay, here's what you're gonna do the week before. You're gonna eat meat, vegetables, and starch at every meal. You're gonna eat till you feel comfortable. You're gonna eat as many meals as you need that day. So sometimes they eat 3, sometimes they eat 4, sometimes they eat 5. I'd only give them a shake if they said, Harry, I run at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. When I get home at 9 o'clock, I really don't feel hungry. Okay, let's make a shake. Then we'll make a shake in those situations, right? But very specific, right? But the key is that most of us in this room, I used the shake today, I think, for the first time in probably about a month, right? And So I always tell people is that we're eating good food 90% of the time. You don't need to have the supplements. Right? If you're sleeping better, you're eating better, you're moving right, chances are everything comes together. Right? Okay? Any other questions? No?
I'm down $165 today for sure. I didn't pay myself, but tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, there you go.
Tomorrow's the day one.
There you
so
go,
it's good.
there you go.
We're going to take a quick 5-minute stretch just at our